Hello everyone and welcome to today's Friday Live on this Friday, February the 14th, which is otherwise known as Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to those of you who celebrate Valentine's Day. I know not everybody does, but Friday the 14th is Valentine's Day. So I know I've got some clients who are doing some wonderful things together today. So if that is you, happy Valentine's Day. I wish you a wonderful day. And for those of you who don't celebrate Valentine's Day, happy Friday. So I am now currently live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you are on YouTube or Facebook, feel free to say hi. If you are listening, let me know where you're listening from. I always love to know where people are. And if you're just joining in, like I said, happy Valentine's Day to you. Oh, thanks, Penny. Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day. I appreciate that, honey. That's very kind of you. Happy Valentine's Day to you too. So I've got some great questions that have been sent through this week, which I'll obviously looking forward to answering for you guys. And as always, if you have a question that you would like me to answer and you are live, the fact that you are live means that you will have a great opportunity to get it answered. I will prioritize anyone who's live and make sure that their questions get answered. But for those of you who sent those in, I've got a couple of great questions here that we will go through. As always with these lives, I'm drawing on things that have shown up with my client work or with my relatable students. And because I always, there's such an amazing synergy with life. And I know that generally when there's something showing up with my clients and students, it's generally going on in a wider, bigger picture in the world. So I draw on those and share with you. Terrible word. Share with you. Sorry, I never use that word. I don't know where that just came from. Share with you guys those things that I think could be helpful or of service to you. So let me find out. Let me see where. Actually, before I go there, thank you, Dan. Hi, thank you for saying hi. Appreciate that. I can't wait to get it to you guys. Here it is. I'm actually just finishing the proofreading. So this is a proof. It's not the final copy, but it is amazing to hold it in my hand. And it's so interesting because I've read this so many times now, but your eye picks up something different when you're holding the physical copy. So there's a lot of things that I'm noticing and changing as we're working through it. But my goal is to get that submitted, the proof submitted today, because we are just under 2 weeks away from launch. And so this is launching on February the 27th. And we're only 2 weeks away. So there's a lot that's got to happen between now and then for this to be ready. So that proof has to be in and finished. So I'm doing everything I can to get that ready for you today. It's a big process. You've literally got to go through each word with a ruler, line by line. And of course, as we all know, when you've read something 100 times, your mind starts making things up and seeing things that aren't there, or reading things in a way that are not meant to be there. So I'm very lucky. I've got my amazing sister. Seriously, my sister is amazing. She's an amazing writer. Her name is Emma Fletcher, and she's helped edit this book. She is amazing. So she's been helping me proof it and all those sorts of things. And I'm so grateful, because she's given me some really great suggestions. And it's just so lovely that we're doing this together. She reminded me of something the other day, which I'd forgotten about, but many years ago, because my sister's been a professional writer for many years. She's really an incredible writer. And writing has never been anything that I've felt that I was very good at. I had a lot of thinking about it. I'm more of a talker. I'm not really a writer. All of this kind of made up BS really is what it is. But, thought can do that to all of us. But anyway, years ago, she saw a clairvoyant. Many years ago, in fact, it really would be over 10 years ago. She saw a clairvoyant, and she told her husband this. She said she told me, but I've forgotten. And the clairvoyant said to her, "You and your sister Fiona will write books together." And, I just find that hilarious, because, if I was to go back 10 years, that was something that I would have said, no, I would never do. I'll never write a book. I'm not a writer. I believe that to be true. And it's just so funny how, this is where you see the role that thought plays in our lives, and we can innocently believe something is completely made up. But this is just how easily it can happen. And so she'd forgotten about it as well. But her husband was reminding her. He said, "Emma, do you remember years ago you saw that clairvoyant?" And she said that you and Fiona would, you'd write a book. And I mean, even though I have written this book, she's just come in and helped me with the editing and the proofreading. But we've been doing it together. So it's wild, isn't it, how things can happen and how things can change. So yeah, really looking forward to getting this book out to you guys. I can't wait for you to read it. And I'd love to know what you think. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think. I've poured so much of everything that I know and the work that I've been doing over a 20-year period into this book. So let's see what happens when it finally goes live. But I've got a really big announcement I want to make about that, but I'll do that later on in my live, because I'm running a competition for the book, a really cool competition. So I'll let you know more about that later on in the live. But for now, let me get to some of these questions and answer those for you. And if you have just joined us, feel free to say hi and let me know where you're listening from. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Here's the first question. Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for doing these live streams. I always get so much out of them. My question is, I always feel guilty asking for what I need in my relationship. How do I communicate my needs without feeling selfish? Great question. Great question. All right. So let me just check that one again. I always feel guilty asking for what I need in my relationship. How do I communicate my needs without feeling selfish? It's a very good question. All right. Now, what am I going to say? Sometimes I see these questions. I'm like, I've got no idea what the answer is to that. I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth, but something always does. I have a lot of faith and trust that something always shows up. It makes life a lot easier to navigate, let me tell you. Hi, Nathan. Thanks for saying hi. Hi, Graham. Hi. I know there's an email in my inbox that I need to reply to from you, Graham, and I will get to that today, I promise. So let's talk about this for a second. Where do you think the feeling of selfishness comes from? So the question this person has just sent through is, hang on, let me pull it up again. Hi, Fiona. Thanks for doing these lives, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for that. I always feel guilty asking for what I need in my relationship. How do I communicate my needs without feeling selfish? And I think the question, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but where do you think a feeling of selfishness comes from? Right? Where do we think a feeling of selfishness actually comes from? Right? Because I think that in of itself lies the answer to this question. And this is why I talk a lot about the fact that understanding how things work is the foundation for life itself, for everything that we do in life. When you understand how things work, your entire relationship with your thinking about those things fundamentally and forever changes, right? It fundamentally and forever changes. And this fundamental change is so important. If you are wanting to make any form of change in your relationships, all right, there has to be this fundamental understanding of how things work that powers that change. If you don't have that fundamental understanding, you're constantly going to come up against your own limitations, your own beliefs, the things that you see as true and real. You're going to come up against them all the time. And you're going to come up against them in a way where it's almost like you've got to fight your way through them to get to the other side. And if those things look like absolute truths to you, and anything that looks like an absolute truth to a human being can become a wall. Like I said to you at the start of this live, My sister's a writer. She's amazing. So, I think a number of years ago, I put myself into the box of, oh, she's the writer. I'm not. And I didn't even realize I'd made that a fundamental truth. So I had a lot of blocks around writing, I really did. Hence why I do these lives. I do I do podcasts. I do, like, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh no, I had this fundamental belief that I lived out of for so long. I'm a talker, I'm not a writer. And I didn't even see it as a belief. I just saw it as the way things were. And so when you see something as the way things are, you come up against that block. And it was only as I've been living from this understanding, and I realized a number of years ago that I just made that up, and it had become this block, because I have always wanted to write a book. I've wanted to put a book out in the world and share it with you, and there are things that I want to put in this book that I can only express one way in this book, if that makes sense. So, it's just so interesting. As soon as I started to see through the illusion of that, I sat down and I wrote the book. And a couple of other things. I had to find the time in my schedule and all of that, but it no longer looked like this enormous thing. It just looked like, I've got to make the time and I'm just going to make this happen. But when we have these fundamental beliefs about something, and so if we go back to what this person said, oh, Nathan, yeah, low thinking about ourselves, right? That looks real and true. Yeah, perfect. So we go back to what this woman has said in her question. I always feel guilty for asking for what I need in my relationship. How do I communicate my needs without being selfish, right? Now, if we see that selfishness is true, right? That a feeling of selfishness is true. So if I feel selfish, therefore I am, right? Does that make sense? If I feel selfish, therefore I am, then it looks like I've got to overcome the fact that I'm selfish, or that I feel selfish, to get anywhere. Is this making sense, or am I overcomplicating this? I've got to be careful sometimes, because I know that without the understanding that I teach at a deeper level, this may be tricky for people to get their heads around. Hi, Christy. Thank you for saying hi, honey. I really appreciate it. Big hello from Northern California. Hello to you, Christy. Thank you so much for saying hi, and let me know where you're listening from. So, because the thing is, when we believe something to be true, it looks like we need to overcome that thing in order to move forward. So for this person, how do I express something without being selfish? Because I've got this problem of feeling selfish. Does that make sense? Now, imagine if you saw that wasn't true, if you knew that wasn't real, if you could see through that. You could see that was an illusion created via thinking. If you could see that, then you're no longer trying to deal with that. Does that make sense? It starts to become something that becomes, instead of forefront noise, it becomes background noise. And this is what I mean about having a foundation, a foundational understanding of how things work. We start to navigate our way through our thinking and through our reality very, very, very differently. Very, very, very differently. I had a really lovely chat with someone this morning who'd been listening to my podcast, and he said to me, he was quite gorgeous. He was in Germany, and he said, Fiona, I stumbled across your lives and whatever, and he said, I can't tell you the difference. He said, my wife and I were fighting all the time. We were fighting constantly. And he said, I always knew that. And he said, I can't believe how differently I see everything. He said, I've been getting counselling for a long time. I look back at what we were doing, and I know it's not the counsellor's fault, but we were going down the wrong path completely. We were going back into my childhood and why I feel this way, and strategies for how I could say things differently to my wife. And he said, none of those things were helping us. It was just having me feel more justified in my reactions. And he said, I just don't see things the same way at all. And he shared this gorgeous story. He said, my wife has been sick for the last couple of weeks, and I've had to look after they've got a 2-year-old. I've had to look after our 2-year-old, so work all day, come home and look after her, because my wife's been really unwell. And he said, the old me would have been feeling really resentful about that, and then wondering, is she really as sick as she says she is? Is she's just doing this so she can, relax, so she can rest and not really contribute? Like, is she even that sick? And I would have been consumed by it, and I would have been really resentful. And he said, I haven't had that thought once, not once. It's been a pleasure. It's been lovely to spend time with my daughter. I've had no resentment. I've had no thinking. And he said, I am in a completely different feeling. He said, my head is quiet. He said, it's just unbelievable. And he's like, everyone needs to do this. Why doesn't the whole world know this, Fiona, right? He's really excited. And I said, well, because we've been taught that feeling good requires a lot of work, that we have to work on ourselves, that things are hard, relationships are hard, life is hard, that this is hard, that we've been taught all this stuff. And so that becomes the foundation that you operate from and the lens with which you see things through. And of course, if that's your foundation, that relationships are hard, that life is hard, that people are complicated, that people are too different, if you've got this as your foundation, those are going to come up against you whenever there is differences between you and somebody else. Whenever you've got an upset thinking or resentful or feeling resentful, you're going to start to see that as a problem that you need to overcome. He said, I don't see those things as things I need to overcome anymore. I just don't see them that way. He said, I see it completely differently. He said, our relationship has changed out of sight. We are getting along so well. He said, I can't believe it, Fiona. And I said, I know, it's the most amazing feeling when you see that, when you have that foundational understanding of this is how things work. And that becomes the foundation that you operate everything from. And so I'm going to come back to what this woman's question was. All right. So I'm going to come back to that. I always feel guilty for asking what I need in my relationship. How do I communicate my needs without feeling selfish? So there's two things here. This person has guilt and a feeling of selfishness as something that she sees that she needs to overcome. Right? I always feel guilty and I feel selfish. So her question is, how do I express what I need without feeling this way? Now, if you see these things, feeling guilty and feeling selfish, or whatever it is that's going on for you, if you see these as these things that you need to overcome, it sends you down this rabbit hole, right? This rabbit hole of how do I get rid of guilt? How do I get rid of the feeling of selfishness? How do I change this? How do I change that, right? And it takes you to a place that is completely removed from connection, goodwill, showing up from a good feeling, being lighthearted, playful, clarity of mind, the things that drive a relationship and make a relationship or take a relationship to a completely other level, right? So is this making sense? It's really hard for me to try and explain this when I know a lot of you listening don't have the ins and outs of the understanding I teach. That's why I try and explain things without making it too complicated, because it's actually not complicated. It's really simple, but it can probably sound that way because there's a little bit of a foundation of understanding missing here. Am I making sense? If anyone wants to give me a little bit of feedback here, that would be helpful. Hi, Sari. Thanks for saying hi from the UK. Oh my goodness, it would be very, very late for you, Sari. Like middle of the night for you if you're tuning in and you're from the UK. So hello, thank you for making that. For making that effort and space to be here. I appreciate it. So what I'm trying to say is, if trying to overcome something was no longer the objective, if there was nothing to overcome, if you could see there was nothing to overcome, if you didn't have to overcome a feeling of guilt, if you didn't have to overcome a feeling of selfishness, if you didn't have to overcome a feeling of worry, or if you didn't have to overcome something, if there was nothing to overcome, what would be available? What would be available to you? And this is what I really want to say to this person. It looks like you have to stop feeling guilty. It looks like you have to stop feeling selfish. That's the illusion that gets created. But if you had this understanding those things would just fall away. They would disappear. They wouldn't even be a thing on your mind. And from there, you would be able to communicate what you need to communicate without feeling like you've got to navigate your way through these emotions and feelings. That is what's on offer when you have this understanding. It's like things that look like roadblocks disappear. They're just not there anymore. Things that look like roadblocks stop being roadblocks because you start to see through them. You start to see the illusion of them because they're all illusionary, right? It all is. It's all illusionary. And when you can see through the illusion of something, there's nothing to overcome. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to remove, right? You just move through life with a whole lot more ease, grace, humility, all of those things, okay? Hi, Joan. Oh, thanks, Nathan. Appreciate that. Hi, Joan. Hello from Frosty, can I say that? Frosty, Canada. It's really cold there, right? Hello, nice to have you here, Joan. Oh, thank you, Sarah. I so appreciate that. Thank you. Your advice is so worth it. Awesome. Makes perfect sense, Fiona. Okay, cool. If it's not making sense, just let me know. So the first thing I want to say to you is it's not that you have to overcome guilt and selfishness. You have to be able to see through the illusion of it. Right? That's the answer. The answer is to see through the illusion of something. Then there's nothing to overcome. And when there's nothing to overcome, life is infinitely easier in every aspect, in every way. So I hope that that really helps with that question. All right, so question number 2. Hi, Fiona. I'm new to your work. I've just started listening to your lives, and I'm binge listening to them all on YouTube. My question is, I really love my partner, but I also want my own space and independence. How do I find that balance? Okay, another great question. Really good question. So I love my partner, but I also want my own space and independence. How do I find that balance? Well, I guess what I would say to that question is I'm going to presume, because I don't know the ins and outs here, but I'm going to presume that when you do express to your partner that, you know, you want to have some time to yourself or you want to go and do your own thing, there's some pushback there. I'm guessing that you're getting pushback from that. All right. And so the difficulty in finding the balance is the fact that perhaps you have someone that wants more time with you than what you feel comfortable with right now, or you're someone who needs more time apart than what they do. So if you're in that situation, and that's very common, it really is, it's very, very common that someone might be, you know, because we are, let's face it, we're often attracted to our opposite. So, you know, if you're someone who likes to spend a lot of time with someone, you'll probably find that you're attracted to someone who values their own independence, because we're kind of always attracted in someone else to something that we see, whether we're aware of it consciously or not, that we need more of ourselves. Does that make sense? This is very common for people. We're often attracted to in someone else what we see that we need more of in ourselves. And again, this can be an unconscious thing that we know of. So, if you're in that situation, it's very, very common, right? Because this is why we say opposites attract, because you can look at someone and instinctively and unconsciously know, hey, I need more of that in my life. I could do with more of that. So if that's a situation, I think what's really important is, number one, it's totally okay to want your own space. And it's really important to be able to listen in to your own truth and to honor that truth. Okay, I do feel that one of our journeys in life is to be able to tune into, listen to, and honor our own truth. Very, very, very important. And something that a lot of people struggle with, because obviously when we are honoring our own truth, that generally means that we are saying no to something from someone else, right? And we're now putting ourselves in a position of being in opposition to somebody else. And so this is why it can be tricky for our human, for our person to be in opposition. But if that's you, I want you to know it's normal, it's understandable, it's completely okay to be in a relationship and still want your independence and space. So the first thing is that you need to be comfortable with it. Okay? A relationship can only go as far as your level of comfortability. Like if you feel guilty, like this other lady was expressing, for wanting your own space, then that will get mirrored to you by your partner. If you don't have clarity around that and you feel bad around that, that will get mirrored back at you by your partner, all right, or the person that you're wanting space from. But if you're clear, if you've got clarity, if you're comfortable within your own skin, if you are clear on what your truth is and you're able to tune in and listen, and if some of you are thinking, how do I do that? This is all the stuff we cover in Relatable, in my Relatable program, all of it. When you get to that point, it's so much easier to say what you need. And the thing is, your energy and the way that you express it and talk about it is totally different. And you'd be amazed at how another person then hears it, because they're not hearing it through the lens of your insecurities. They're hearing it through the lens of your clarity. And clarity is very compelling. Right? It is. It's very, very, very compelling. Clarity is very convincing. Right? So everything starts with you. So first of all, make sure this is something that you are very clear and comfortable with. Because the more clear and comfortable you are, the more comfortable you are when someone is uncomfortable. Right? So many people are very uncomfortable because someone else is uncomfortable. And so then when you're uncomfortable, when someone else is uncomfortable, what happens? You want to do everything you can to make them comfortable so you can be comfortable. Okay. And then, of course, this is how a lot of miscommunication happens. This is how a lot of conflict happens. This is how a lot of a big lack of listening happens. All right. So very, very important. Everything starts with you. And when you become really good at navigating you, everything out here becomes a reflection of that and so much easier. So things like asking for what you need, needing space and independence and doing your own thing. It starts to become a thing that you create from a space of ease because you are comfortable. One of the things that you start to notice once you become comfortable in your own skin and you're navigating yourself very differently is you are no longer at the mercy of somebody else's opinion, somebody else's thinking, somebody else's projection, and your life is no longer, I guess, you no longer feel like you're at the mercy of life itself. And that is a fantastic way to move through life. It's beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful. It's something that, as some of you have heard me say, I am so grateful that I have that in my life, and it is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And it just gets better and better and deeper, the understanding of that over time. It's not something that you lose. It's something that deepens and deepens over time. So it always starts with you. If you're comfortable asking for space in a relationship, your partner will be too. And the other thing as well is when you're comfortable, you're able to approach it in a loving way rather than in a resentful way. You're able to approach it in a loving way. So a loving way would be, hey, babe, I'm going to go for a walk. I really just need some space to clear my head. I'll catch up with you in a couple of hours. Now, you might get kickback like this. What do you mean you're going for a walk? Can I come? But I haven't seen you all day. I really want to spend time with you. Look, honey, I get that. I know we need to spend some time together, but I know that I can't show up to you the way that I really want to until I've kind of defragged and had some space for myself. Okay, so really want to spend time with you, but I've got to take this time for me first. All right, I'll see you in a couple of hours. Now, people who are not comfortable, the conversation doesn't go that way. It tends to go like this. Oh, you think to yourself, oh, yeah, that's true. We haven't really spent much time together all day. And yeah, okay, I probably should let them go for a walk, but I'm really craving time for myself. Oh, but I don't want to upset them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Maybe I should let them go for a walk with me, but okay. And then you find yourself going, okay, all right. You say, all right, then let's go for a walk. Now, you might go for a walk, but at the end of the walk, you're feeling resentful. You haven't had some time to defrag. You're starting to think, God, why are they so needy? Why do they have to be so clingy? Why can't they just accept the fact that I want to go for a walk? Why, how did they end up in this place? Blah, 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 right? Now, I want you to see the fundamental difference. See, at the start, the person who is comfortable in their own skin will honor where they are from a place of kindness, calmness, and humility and grace. The person who's not comfortable in their own skin starts to take on board someone else's reality, make it their own, turn it around in their head, carry it when they don't want to, not honor themselves, end up feeling resentful, and then blaming the other person. See how that happens? Does that make sense? This is why it all starts with you guys. Everything starts with you. And when you see that, it's unbelievable. Yes. Thanks, Graham. Absolutely. It's so empowering. It's the most freeing thing because you are no longer at the mercy of someone else's stuff. You get to tune in and honor yourself. Now, I'm telling you, when you honor you and you live from that truth, life will meet you there every step of the way. It's amazing. Okay. All right. I hope that was helpful. I really, really do. Now, for those of you, so a couple of things I want to say. I've decided to create a competition around my book. So I want to make an announcement about that in a second and explain the rules of the competition. So there are rules for this competition. And also, you know, I've got this big kind of goal that I've put out there that when I launch my book on the 27th of Feb, and I'm about to create a Facebook event around that. So that'll be, you'll see that on my page soon. I really want to see if I can reach bestseller status. That's what I want to see if I can reach. Now, I believe I'm still learning this. I'm still new to it, but I think in order to do that, I've got to, you know, sell a certain number of copies within a certain number of times. So I'm just being honest. This is the goal that I've set for myself. This is what I'm putting out there in the world. And I know that when I do that, that's just going to help more people, because that's the whole point of me writing this book, is that I want to help more people. It's not so that I'm not saying that, hey, I've got this massive thing about being a bestseller, but I know that means I'm going to sell and move a lot more books, and it can just help and impact more people. So I've created a competition around that. I'm going to share the details of that with you in a moment. But in order to move more copies of my book, I've created a wait list so that you can get early access to it. There's a few bonuses around that. So if you want to join the wait list, there's a link for that. I will just share that with you shortly. I also want to say I've just done I've spent a few months on this, but I've redesigned my my whole website. And so it's so much easier to find things on there now and access things. So this is the link to the waitlist for the book. If you haven't joined the waitlist, please do. I'll be sharing emails and taking you through on the journey on that. And this is my redesigned website, which I'm really proud of. That just launched last week, so I'm very excited around that. If you want to book a call with me and find out about Relatable, please do. I love sharing about Relatable and to see if it's a good fit for you. So I'll put the link for that here as well. And I want to put the details of this competition. So the competition that I am doing, drum roll, that I'm doing for the book is I am offering a full scholarship. Yeah, I'm just going to put the link here. I'm offering a full scholarship to, because I know there are some people out there who want to do Relatable but can't afford it. So I'm offering a full scholarship to Relatable, okay? But there are some things that that in order to be eligible for that scholarship, that you guys need to do. So I'm going to post this on my page, but basically, to enter the scholarship, I'm just going to put I'm just going to pop this here in the chat to give you more context on that. So this is the details. I will do a proper don't know if that's actually going to work so well. Maybe it's not going to work in the chat. Anyway, let's see. So, so to enter the competition, I'm giving away a full scholarship to Relatable, and it's only available, I'm sorry, it's not available to current Relatable members. I'm sorry. I'm trying to offer this to people who may not have been able to do it before or whatever. You've got to purchase a copy of my book, a paperback copy of my book when it launches on February 27th. Okay. You then need to post a picture of yourself with this book, holding the book on social media, and tag me in your post along with three other people. Okay. That's step 2. Then I need you to write a review on Amazon, and then share whatever your biggest insight from reading this book has been for you. And tag me and use the hashtags Funny Little Human Book or Funny Little Human. So the competition opens on February 27th when the book goes live, and will finish on March 27th. So you've got a month to do those things. And then I'm going to announce the winner on my Friday live the next day, which will be March the 28th. So for those of you who've wanted to do Relatable, and I know some of you reach out to me and you want to know more about it, want to do it, this is an opportunity to do that. I'm giving away a scholarship to Relatable. And to enter, these are the things that I need you to do. So I'll put those in the comments. I am going to make an announcement about this on my page and explain this in detail, but it will be launching on February 27th, and that's what you need to do to be eligible for that scholarship. So I really want to see what I can do to get this book in as many hands as possible, and for people to get the benefit of what I am sharing here. I am not holding back in any way, shape or form, and I put everything I can into this book. So with that being said, I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you've got any question, you can send me an email to hello@fionalukeis.com.au. To my Relatable members, I will come up with something for you guys. All right. So I haven't forgotten about you, because you guys are my greatest support group. You come on these Facebook Lives, you're with me every step of the way, and you're sharing this. I'm so grateful to you. So I'm coming up with something for you guys as well that's just for Relatable people, but I will announce that in the Relatable members group. Okay, so look out for that on the Relatable members group. This one is for those of you out there in the out there who are not members of Relatable, who would love to do the program, and maybe for whatever reason you haven't been able to, I'm giving away a full scholarship as part of the launch of my book, Funny Little Human. Like I said, the details of that are in this post, and I will be sharing them in a post on my page. So keep an eye out for that. But if you want to join the wait list to get early access to the book, so earlier than Feb 27th, and a couple of other bonuses. So for example, if you're on the wait list, I'm going to run a welcome call on Zoom where we can all connect and speak directly. So for those people who are on the wait list, you will get an opportunity to do that. I'll be announcing the date for that. And I'll be talking about the book and some of the concepts in it. And, I'll be reading a couple of the chapters, and there's a few other things we'll be doing on that call. So if you want to be on that call, join the wait list, which is in the comments below. And otherwise, I will see you. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Big happy Valentine's Day for you. I will see you all next Friday as we get closer and closer to launch day. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope that this has been helpful. And a big thank you, I really mean that, to my Relatable students. There are so many of you that show up week after week after week on these calls, as if you don't get enough of me with the 2 other calls that I run with you guys each week. It's just so beautiful. I'm so grateful for your support. I love you so much. I really do. And for everybody who jumps on these lives and offers their wisdom comments, I really do. I really, really, really appreciate you. So much love for you all. If you want to win a scholarship to Relatable, check out the comments on the post here. And more details coming soon. All right, everyone. Thanks, Nathan. So appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Lots of love to you all, everyone. See you next week. Ciao.